Hi guys, Johnny VisionAire here with part 2 in my series on the new release from E-Flite. This kit is the Night VisionAire, and today we'll be going over the build portion of the series. If you missed it, you might want to go back and check out the unboxing video. It went more in detail as far as everything that came in the kit, but I thought it was important to go over a quick overview of everything that we're going to be working with today. So here's everything that comes in the kit. You're going to have the fuselage, a left and a right wing panel, as well as a left and a right horizontal stabilizer. You're going to have 8 pieces of tape. Those are going to locate these or help mount these onto the fuselage, the horizontal stabilizer. Got 2 carbon fiber rods. The larger one will be for the wing. The smaller one's going to be for the horizontal stabilizer here. 4 side force generators. They get mounted on the wing here, and 4 pieces of double-sided tape to mount those onto the wing. You have the landing gear with a small plate. It's got 4 screw holes. That's to help mount those on, locate them in the fuselage. 4 pieces of small tubing. Those are for these clevises here, just to help retain it. It looks like they're all installed, so we probably won't use them, but we have them for a backup. 2 pieces of Velcro. Those will go on the battery. Once you put the battery in, that'll help lock it in place in the fuselage. Bind plug. Those seem to come with all of these bind and fly kits these days. And I wanted to go over these 3 bags of screws. This is the hardware that came with the kit. And I've arranged them here from smallest to largest. The smallest screws in the kit in the bag comes with 6 screws. The next size up, the medium size screws, there's 2 screws. And the largest screws in the kit, there's 3 screws in this bag. Now I know historically with other kits I've built from E-Flite, they tend to throw in 1 extra at least of everything in the hardware kit so that you have a backup. But I want to make sure you know how many were in each of these bags, so when we get to that portion of the build, you will know what we're working with. So anyways, let's move on to step 1 of the build. Alright, the first step in the build is going to be putting the landing gear into the fuselage. For that, we are going to need the actual landing gear themselves, as well as the small plastic plate. It's got room for 4 screws in there. Okay. And the bag with the smallest screws, 6 screws came in this bag. At least it did in my kit. So, get these screws out. First thing I wanted to talk about was the actual landing gear itself. When you put it into the fuselage, you're going to see that there's a natural rake. What I mean by rake, they're actually favoring one side or the other. You put them in this way, they're favoring kind of a bend towards the nose of the plane. If you turn them around, they're going to actually favor the rear of the plane or be bent backwards. Correct way to put that is to make sure that you put those in to where those are facing the front of the plane, okay, towards the nose. It's going to put these wheels here just a little bit in front of the wing and make for a more stable takeoff and landing. So, going to take our plate here. It's key to go in only one way as well. If you notice this way, it doesn't fit. Flip it around. It should slide in like this. Okay, it'll be nice and flush. And then we're going to put 4 screws. You just want to tighten these until they're flush. Don't put too much pressure on them. Remember, even though you're screwing into plastic, that plastic is surrounded in foam that compresses very easily. Just take your time, line them up, and screw them all the way down until they're flush. Step 2 of the build will be installing the horizontal tail or the elevators. For that, we're going to need the smaller of the 2 wing spars, carbon wing spars. We're going to need the 2 elevator halves, as well as the 8 pieces of tape that came in the kit. Okay, so 2 things I wanted to note. One, if you're unsure as to which side the horizontal tails or the elevators are, right here you'll see that they have an L or an R for the left or right side, and when it's installed the colors should be matching the fuselage and the top of the horizontal tail. The bottom surface that you'd see from underneath is actually different trim, it's in red. So first thing we're going to do, you'll see a hole back here towards the rear of the fuselage where the elevator goes in. That's where you're going to slide your carbon spar through. And you're going to want to try to get that as centered as you can. I actually like to even use a tape measure on parts I don't take apart often to make sure they're right centered. For mine, that came out to just short of 5 inches on each side, about 4 15/16. Also, another thing I wanted to point out, you can see here where these two elevator halves come together, you'll see one piece that's keyed for these two to go in together. That's going to make sure that the elevators move in unison. So when you put that together, make sure you line those two up. Okay, first thing we want to do, you see in here, there's an electrical connection for this here. This is actually for the LED lights that run inside the horizontal stabilizer. So if you look on this plain side, you're going to see there's a red and a black wire attached to this connector. If you look on here, we also have a red and a black wire. The red's in the center and the black, in my case here, is going to be on the bottom. So you want to make sure you line that up correctly and plug it in until it's seated all the way. There it goes. Actually going to have to pull this back now. It's kind of the easier way to do the first side. Get this lined up, slide it back through. I'm going to confirm on the other side that I have it centered again. Okay, there we go. That's centered. I'll go ahead and roll this over so you can see the other side. I'm going to slide this onto there. Again, confirm. You got the red in the middle. The black wire is going to be either on the top or bottom. In my case, it's here on the bottom, so I'm going to make sure that the black and red wires line up. Get this lined up here and push it in so it seats all the way. That's good. There we go. Let's just do this upside down. You want to make sure that the wiring here is clear so you're not pushing directly into any of that wiring with the horizontal tails. We're just going to slide one side in, the other side lined up. This is where I said you got to make sure that you get this back lined up. Get that slid in. There you go. You want to look along this line here. Make sure that it's butted up all the way and it's flush all the way down. And we're going to put the 6 pieces of tape on there. What I recommend you do is take a little rubbing alcohol, spray it on a towel, and just lightly go over where you're going to put the tape. Try not to go too crazy on the stickers or anything, but you want to make sure that the tape is going to stick. Flip it over. Do this bottom side. Everything looks good from underneath as well. Take our 6 pieces of tape, adjust it to where you can see it a little better. I'm just going to put those on just like this. Tape doesn't want to cooperate. Take this guy, slide it right on here. Now you can add some CA to this as well inside here when you put it together. I would recommend that you don't, at least in the beginning. You don't know if you might have any kind of wiring problems with that lighting in the back. So I would leave it until you make sure everything's working correctly. So those 4 pieces of tape go on here. You're going to put 4 on the other side, on the top side. I'll show you here. It's going to take this tube here on the clevis and slide it down. This will open up. According to the kit, the instruction manual says to put this on the outside, so the lower hole, not the inner hole that's closest to the elevator, but further down. Slide it through, clasp it on, and then just slide this tube back over. I like to leave some room between the horn here and the actual piece of tubing so it's free to move when the servo actually actuates this. Won't bind up. Just keep it slid a little bit down. Flip it over. I'll run the 4 pieces of tape here, and the tail is done.